the really difficult evaluation at the beginning of any opportunity is whether something's worth doing. And one has to take a really, really hard look at what they're doing and think about it, whether the idea they have is real. Because there's a lot of really good ideas that just don't go that next step. And I've worked in commercialization of ideas for a long time, and it is quite humbling, to find out how many of your brilliant ideas aren't really all that brilliant. And so it's so the first thing I would suggest is that anybody who's got a really good idea, that they take a really hard, sharp pencil with an accountant's gaze to think about whether it's really something that can be turned into reality. With that behind you, the next thing is to develop a support group that's going to aid you in that transition to become an entrepreneur, because you likely don't have the appropriate skills. And so you have to assume that you're back at being the level of being your own graduate student, and look at yourself from a different point of view, because it is humbling what you don't. The other element to this, and this is really again the part of the learning process, is that the idea never ends up being exactly what you started with. It ends up having to be streamlined and cut back to a very tight, concise story, and that's what has to be developed, on that stage where you're learning to do, honing your ideas in and finding what you're really delivering, because quite often the package of what you're delivering is much tighter. When I started this, I did not actually think that I was going to be making and producing sweet flax oil. That was what the other people were doing. Now I realize it's an essential part of the partnership to make this work, and that has to be part of our business plan. So the transition is first of all, I haven't left my day job, and I run a very large research group, so it's a lot of effort to do both that and start up a company. The types of benefits that I've realized come from the community in general, and very specific contributions and specific. We've had support, for example, from AgWest, to get seed, a loan, to get our operation up and running. We have had help with establishing a laboratory space by working with Bioregional Food and Science. We've had initial government funding, working with Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada through the AIP program. We've been funded for a lot of the background research, and now into the future through the Government of Saskatchewan Ministry of Agriculture through the Ag Development Fund. So there's a lot of sources that have been brought together to fund gathering this knowledge together. And then being in the Saskatchewan community, I've had a lot of advice. I've set up, although I don't have a company's small, very new, and we don't have a full board of directors yet, but we've had a virtual board of directors literally from the start, in the form of people who would help with making decisions, steering somebody who is essentially an academic towards a business and entrepreneurial path. So it's been a big transition, and there's a lot to learn.